Hello everyone, I'm Ravi Handa, and this is my Twitter handle. You can use that to connect with me and to provide feedback. This is your first session on parajumbles. Well, parajumbles I don't think is a proper word. It should probably be jumbled paragraph, but this is the term which is used. So we'll learn about how to solve parajumbles in this particular session. I have one more video which discusses various types of parajumbles, but probably you should watch that after you have seen this. Then you'll be able to benefit more from both these videos. So, to begin with, in solving parajumbles, the first thing that you should do is try and identify the connectors. Now, what are connectors? Well, connectors are words or phrases which can connect to statements, connect to sentences, and provide a logical connection. With the help of that logical connection, you might be able to form a coherent paragraph. These connectors can be of two types: supporting connectors or contradicting connectors. Some of the examples of supporting connectors are and. I hope you would know what these mean, but still, and let's say to connect between statement A and statement B. There is likewise, similarly, and in the same vein. All these are supporting or positive connectors. Whereas there can be contradicting connectors such as but, despite this, however, or on the other hand. These are contradicting connectors. Let's say if you have a statement and then you need to contradict the previous statement, then you can use words or phrases like this. If you find words or phrases like this in a parajumble question, it would become really simple. Let's look at an example. Say here, this is an example for connectors. What I'm given here is, first thing, let's first go through these statements. Maria looked at her and started sobbing, and Ivan's sister followed suit. At the word until, Ogla broke down and wept. So I still don't see too much of a connection. But he could not find. Okay. So here it is. Probably you should underline this in the paper. But he could not find anything. So this means there must be some action that this he did, and then he could not find anything and finally gave it up as a bad job. Then the old statement had a bit of coughing and fussed around trying to find a present for his little granddaughter. This has given us a very clear connection between 4 and 3. First, 4 should come because the old man is trying to find something, but he could not find it. So now let's look at the options without even considering what happens. Where do I see a 4-3? A 4-3 is not in the first option. 4-2 is there in the second, so this is out. 4-3 is there in the third. This might be the answer. Fourth one also has a 4-2, so this is also out, which makes third one as our answer. See, this is a very important idea. All you did was identified a connector, forget the answer, you just eliminate the options. You were down to only one option, and that becomes your answer. So that is the benefit of this technique. That is the benefit of identifying the connectors. And as you can see, it can be really helpful and save you a lot of time. Let's move on to the next tip, so to say. Now, we like to look at some words which typically occur in the beginning of the paragraph or in the end of the paragraph. If you see this, that will give you a rough idea of how the paragraph is structured. In the beginning, typically you will find words like firstly, first and foremost, initially, and at the outset. So these are all good starting words or starting phrases. There can also be words which enumerate, as in listing down and numbering points. So if you have a firstly and a secondly and a thirdly, that itself will give you an order. Ending also, if you have something like a hence or in conclusion, thus, lastly, therefore, or something like a last but not the least, these form as good ending statements, good conclusive statements. Let us look at an example in this case. So here we have first may be necessary for immediate relief. So this first here is not for the beginning of the paragraph. First may be necessary for immediate relief. So this is enumerating something. This is saying that out of the 5 things maybe which are given, first one is necessary. So this first statement which is given, this one, this will follow something which had listed down a few things. However, to cure the problem from the root, the treatment at elemental level is a must. Now this one, this however, is something like a conclusion. So this must be somewhere towards the end. See, these are good pointers which you should write down on the paper itself. It will help you solve it better. Therefore, synergy of modern medical science and ancient Indian wisdom is in the interest of humanity. So once again, this is sort of a conclusion. So this has to be somewhere towards the end. Then fourth statement is allopathic treatment is symptomatic while Ayurveda treats at an elemental level. Okay. So this is our listing down that we were talking about. Allopathic treatment is one. Ayurveda is another, which means that the first may be necessary has to follow statement 4. Once you have figured that out, that one must follow 4, look at the options. 4-2, option A is gone. 4-1 may be the answer. Again 4-1 may be the answer. 2-1 or 4-3, this is also out. 4-1 was what we were looking for. Now, will it be 4-1-3-2 as in option C or 2-3? Let's just go through the paragraph. Allopathic treatment is symptomatic while Ayurveda treats at an elemental level. Then first may be necessary for immediate relief. Then, however, to cure the problem. Okay, and therefore synergy of modern science. So third one is the actual end because that is giving us the ultimate conclusion for the entire paragraph, which means the order will be 4-1 and conclude with a 3. Where is that happening? That is happening in option B, and hence B is our answer. The correct order of statements will be 4, 1, 2 and 3. Let us look at one more tip. The words which exist in pairs, again they can be very, very helpful. If you have something like an if only, it would be followed by a then. Former will be followed by a latter. Though, yet, either, or, neither, nor, not only, but also, on one hand, on the other hand. So whatever is given in the second part, these ones, they will typically follow the ones which are given in the first part. And that is very, very helpful. That gives us some sort of an order and helps us figure out the correct order in the sentences. Let's look at one more example, the final one in this session, to clarify this idea. This is a long one. The dangers of conflicting irrational majoritarianism with enlightened consensus are indeed great in developing democracy. Real democracy is about meditating the popular will through a network of institutional structure and the law of the land. Okay, so I got an and here. So these are the two things which should work together. Keep that in mind. While lawmaking and governance are meant to articulate the latter. Okay, so I got a latter here. The judiciary is supposed to protect the former. Okay, so I need two things which are connected. Judiciary protects the former, whereas you need lawmaking and governance are meant to articulate the latter. So I need two things. Can these two things be institutional structure and law of the land? Not exactly, because this is talking about implementing something. So there have to be two things. One, which is protected by the judiciary, and second, which is meant to articulate the second. Lawmaking and governance are used to articulate it. What are these two things? Maybe they are there in the fourth statement. The principle of separation of powers is meant to embody a desirable tension between individual rights and social consensus. So these are the two things that we are looking for, which means that statement 3 has to follow statement 4, because that is the connection that we have found out because of former and latter. 4-3. Now look at the options. 4-3 is not there in the first option. 4-3 is not there in the second option. It's there in C, might be the answer. 4-3 is not there in option D, which means option C is clearly my answer. So as you can see, even if the paragraph is so long, if you just follow these basic techniques, you can get to the answer very quickly, very easily, and there is not too much confusion. People get confused in parajumbles primarily because they think, okay, this is also making sense. If I put this order, that is also making sense. They do not do it very logically or in form of a how do I put it, in form of a flow chart through a process. If you follow the process, it becomes a lot simpler. Let's look at a few more tips which can help you in the process. You should look for nouns and pronouns. That helps a real lot. Let's say if Ravi Handa is introduced in a particular statement, and there is another statement which has he likes to make videos, then Ravi Handa, the introduction statement of Ravi Handa, that will definitely come before he likes to make videos. That can give you a clue. Abbreviation hints. Typically, once there is a paragraph, let's say if it's talking about something to do with finance and there is International Monetary Fund in it, and then there is IMF as an abbreviation. Typically, what will happen is IMF, the abbreviation, will be used after the full term is used. So again, that will give you an order. If one of these statements has International Monetary Fund, whereas another statement has IMF, then definitely the IMF containing statement will come after the one which contains International Monetary Fund. Eliminating the options, I guess you have already seen how helpful that is. Once you observe a connection, a particular pattern, you know two statements which will be coupled together, you can eliminate the options and get to the correct answer. Tense and chronology hints. Again, this is something very important. What happens is, let's say if someone talks about June, then July, and then August, and they are, how do I put it? They are given in a different order. That chronology of events, that can also give you a correct order. There is also logical continuity, which you should look for. Let's say if something is being talked about, the paragraph is talking about a match between India and Pakistan, then the statement which talks about the result of the match will typically be towards the end. One final thing which I like to say is that you should read the sentences first and form an overview of the paragraph before you even try looking at the options. Another mistake which people tend to make is they first look at the options, try and arrange them, and see which order makes sense. That is not an advisable strategy. That is something that you should avoid. I hope you found this session useful on solving parajumbles. Please provide feedback via Twitter at my Twitter handle, which is @Ravi Handa. Thank you.